Air Jordans are the status quo in the sneaker world, and if you're a basketball fan or just a sports fan in general, you probably wanted a pair of J's for yourself. In fact, this YouTube channel probably wouldn't even exist had it not been for Air Jordan. So today, we're honoring the greatest signature sneaker line the world has ever seen by deciding what are the 5 best Air Jordan sneakers of all time. But remember, this is the final episode of a 3-part series where I rank the 14 Jordans MJ wore as a Bull, and I rank them from worst to best. So if you haven't checked out those other 2 videos, you're doing it backwards. But that's fine, you do you. Welcome to the top 5 best Air Jordans. Starting off the top 5, we have the Air Jordan 12s. Now, I have always wanted me a pair of 12s, but for whatever reason, out of all my years collecting sneakers, the 12s have always eluded me, and that definitely helped their ranking on the list because they've always just been this unattainable shoe that's really hard for me to get my hands on. But looking at the 12s objectively, I mean, it's just a good looking sneaker. The 12s have always been one of the more luxurious looking Jordans with their tumbled leather upper, faux iguana skin that's kind of a callback to the Air Jordan 2, one of the least loved in the series, but also the most premium of all the Jordans, as well as with their robust eyelets that are sometimes gold plated like they are on the Taxi colorway. Now, the visual design of the 12s actually caused a bit of controversy, particularly when Jordan Brand dropped the Rising Sun colorway in 2009. Technically, the original inspiration behind the 12's visual design was inspired by the Japanese Rising Sun flag with its stitched in leather panels mimicking sun rays, but it wasn't until that Rising Sun colorway dropped in 2009 with a white and red color scheme as well as a special edition insole that actually had that old Japanese flag on it that people started to have concerns, since the Rising Sun flag is a symbol of the Imperial Japanese reign, which is obviously a very dark time in Japan's history. Nike and Jordan Brand responded by pushing back the release of the controversial colorway and also by removing the insole with the Rising Sun graphic. Originally, the 12s dropped in 1996, but as we all know, MJ's iconic moment with the 12s was the flu game in the 97 finals. And while we now know the flu game wasn't really the flu game thanks to The Last Dance, the food poisoning 12 just doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well. And the flu games are not only the best colorway of the 12s, but they're just flat out one of the most iconic colorways in the entire line. The 5 original colorways of the 12s included the flu games, the taxis, the playoffs, the French blues, and the cherries. But since its original release in 96, the 12s have produced some great colorways after the fact, such as the mellows, the nubucks, the masters, the wings, the PSNYs, the OVOs. You get the point. The 12s are one of the best looking J's no matter what colorway you see them in. And that's enough to make these one of the 5 best Air Jordan sneakers of all time. But let me know where you guys have these ranked in the comment section below. Coming in at number 4 are the Air Jordan 3s. Now, the Air Jordan 3 is not only one of the preeminent Jordans of all time, they're also just one of the most historic sneakers of all time, thanks to them being the first basketball shoe ever with a visible air unit. The 3s also introduced us to other seminal Air Jordan features such as elephant print, Mars Blackman, and of course, the iconic Jumpman logo, which marked the first time we saw the Jumpman on an Air Jordan sneaker. Originally released in 1987, MJ wore the 3s while winning the dunk contest in '88, which helped create a mystique around his shoes as sources of powers that help you take flight just like Mike. The 3s have also lived on as one of the more revered Air Jordans thanks to their classic look, which at the time in 1987 was one of the more unique sneakers on the market thanks to their distinguishable look and untraditional colorways like the black cement, which helped the 3s stand out on and off of the court. While Jordan Brand has kept the sneaker alive with a ton of retro releases of the original colorways, the new colorways that Jordan Brand has come up with have been hit or miss, with some pleasing fans such as the mochas, the black cats, and my personal favorite, the flips. The other colorways like the jokers and the powder blues have been seen sitting on shelves, leaving fans with the feeling that the 3s are best suited when dressed in the OG colorways that MJ wore. Even though the 3s are iconic for so many reasons, they do kind of have the stigma of being your dad's favorite J's, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but due to the lackluster amount of interesting new colorways compared to some of the other silhouettes in the series, as well as the fact that the successor of the 3s is often regarded as a superior version, forced me to put these at the number 4 spot. But if you're new to collecting Jordans or just sneakers in general, a fresh pair of 3s is a great place to start, and every sneakerhead should have a pair of these in their collection. Next up at number 3, we have the Air Jordan 4s. Now, like I said earlier, the 4s are often regarded as a refined version of the 3s, since they have many of the same features as its predecessor, but also have an overall slimmer build, as well as additional features such as the wings, which give the silhouette more depth and layers. So while the 3s are no doubt the more groundbreaking sneaker in the industry and they definitely shook up the sneaker world, the 4s took what the 3s did and did it better. The 4s were slimmer, lighter, and when compared to the more luxurious nature of the 3s, the 4s just felt more sporty, which made them more accessible as an everyday pair of shoes that you could wear anytime, such as on a hot summer day in New York City. Yo! Designer Tinker Hatfield wanted to dive deeper into performance with the 4s as opposed to the previous 3 models, which were heavily inspired by fashion, and Tinker did this by dipping the mesh on the midfoot in soft plastic and blew air through it to clear out the plastic in between, making the mesh panel feel not as cheap as it would without it. The results were a more aggressive model that fell into the sports footwear genre even more, as opposed to blurring the line between sportswear and fashion like the Jordan 2 and 3 did, and in effect, the 4s actually became fashion and forced that world to lean more into the sportswear genre, as opposed to sportswear trying to be designed to fit in with fashion. As for iconic moments, MJ hit what is arguably his first real iconic shot in the NBA in the 4s with the shot over Elo in Cleveland during the '89 Eastern Conference Semis, putting Jordan Mania in full gear and making even more fans want to be like Mike. The 4s are also one of the more sought after retros in the entire series, with pretty much every colorway from the OG white cement and breads to the newer metallic purple selling out on site, which not only makes the 4s extremely popular, but also kind of exclusive to those who have a pair, since you have to try relatively hard to obtain them. Whether they're old or new, it really doesn't matter. People love them a pair of 4s, and that's why I think they're the 3rd best Air Jordan sneaker of all time. And also because this was actually the first sneaker that I ever camped out for, so they'll always hold a special place in my heart. But I know some of you guys, for whatever reason, don't like the 4s, so let me know where you have them ranked on your list down below. All right, now it is finally that time to decide which of these 2 is the most iconic Air Jordan sneaker of all time. The best of the best, the creme de la creme, the #1 undisputed champ. It is between the Air Jordan 11 and the Air Jordan 1. And coming in at 2nd place, I got the 11s. Now, I know this might be a surprise to some of you guys, but before I explain why I think the 1s are the quintessential Air Jordan sneaker, let's talk about the 11s. Now, the main reason why I have these ranked so high is because every holiday season, right around Christmas, Jordan Brand drops a pair of 11s. They've dropped the favorites such as the Breds and the Concords, and they've also dropped some new colorways like the Gammas and the 72 and 10s. Well, no matter what Jordan Brand puts under our tree, the sneaker community and its extended family, like our cousin Hypebeast Kyle, cannot wait to cop a pair for themselves, and this is something you really can't say for all the other Jordans. Sure, the OG colorways of the 3s, the 4s, the 1s, and even the 12s, they get that kind of hype, but the difference between those models and these is the non-OG colorways of the 11s still sell out like crazy, and that is just hype you cannot beat. And on top of that, the 11s are just a powerhouse of a shoe. Not only have they been ingrained in our minds as an iconic piece of sports memorabilia, thanks to moments like MJ rocking them in Space Jam way before they released to the public, and also during the record-breaking 72 and 10 season with the Bulls, but the 11s are just a beautiful piece of footwear that brings out the best in sneakers, which is the ability to wear works of art on your feet every single day. The Jordan 11 has also remained a favorite to rock on the court as well, despite them being over a decade old, with an extremely comfortable cushioning system, as well as their ballistic mesh upper that was definitely ahead of its time back in '97 and still holds up to this day, keeping the 11s relevant in both the on and off court communities. They're also the only sneaker in the world that's mildly acceptable to wear with the tux, even though you still probably shouldn't. The point still remains, the 11s are one of the most beloved Air Jordans of all time, and even though they may not be as practical as something like the 4s, you can't beat hype. And out of all the great silhouettes in the entire Air Jordan series, the 11s are definitely the most hyped. However, there is one sneaker that beat the hype. Finally, at number 1, as the best Air Jordan sneaker of all time, we have the Air Jordan 1. All right, so look, when I sat down to make this list, the Jordan 1 was an interesting sneaker to judge. It kind of jumped all over the place. At one point, I had them at number 3. I even had them as low as number 5. But at the end of the day, after a lot of deliberation, I just think this is the best Air Jordan sneaker. It is easily the most popular Air Jordan of all time. And without the Air Jordan 1, the Jordan line might not be what we know it today. We all know the story about the NBA banning the black and red Jordan 1s because they didn't comply with the uniform regulations at the time, even though it was actually the Nike Air Ship that was banned. But little did they know, that fine created an aura around Jordan sneakers, which put them in high demand with the fans, and the momentum from the marketing campaign that took advantage of the ban carried on into the next shoe and the next one and the one after that, and so on and so forth. While the 1s are basically a slimmer version of the already popular Nike Dunk, and technically they aren't the most unique looking Jordan out of the bunch, they are still the most worn Jordan in the entire line, thanks to their simple, classic, and accessible look, which has never gotten old throughout the decades and has remained alive thanks to the love of OG colorways as well as the new ones. The Jordan 1 arguably has the best non-OG colorway lineup in the entire series, with a myriad of collaborations and collections that are available in pretty much any color you can imagine, making the 1s easily the most collectible Jordan of all time, since the new colorways of the silhouette are dropping what seems like every single month, providing fans with anything their heart desires. Now, as for relevancy on the court, I mean, MJ said it in The Last Dance himself, right? Shoe technology has definitely surpassed what the 1s originally did in '86. However, that is not stopping anyone, including Michael himself, from rocking the 1s as a classic piece of footwear that is so nostalgic, it almost makes worth bleeding from your feet to wear them in MSG for one last time. No matter the color, no matter the material, the Air Jordan 1 looks good no matter how you dress them up. So while the 1s haven't aged the best on the court, their off-court appeal is at an all-time high, and it isn't going down anytime soon because the 1's reputation as the most versatile model in the Air Jordan line is unassailable, and that is why I have them at the number 1 spot as the consummate Air Jordan sneaker that is essential in every sneaker collection, no matter the size. I can go to bed tonight with a good conscience saying that the Air Jordan 1 is the best Air Jordan sneaker ever. And if I could only rock one pair of J's in my entire life, I mean, I think it would probably be the 1s. But let me know what your list is in the comment section below. And if you haven't joined the Duran Mob already, hit that subscribe button for more sneaker related content just like this. My name's Jaren. It's been great having you. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.